So we have to consider, why do children act out? Because kids are, for the most part, most of the time when a child is having a big emotion, it's because there's a limit that's been set. That's not always true. Sometimes they fell, or they got hurt, or another child wouldn't share. But oftentimes, in particular when we're working with parents, it's because there's a limit set. Or maybe they grabbed a child's toy and then that child grabbed back. So we have to be thinking about, why do children misbehave, so to speak? Well, we have to think about the way that we think about a kid's behavior. So if we consider that a child is misbehaving because they don't have discipline, or they're just a spoiled kid, or they can't think, and they just can't, there's nothing we can do about it, then we're not going to be able to help them. But if we understand that, in fact, all children are good, and the problem is when they're not able to access their whole brain, that allows us to take a different approach. When kids are full of difficult feelings, that's what makes them not able to follow directions and play well with others. And when we can help them to unload some of those feelings, they can come back to their natural, innate ability to follow directions and play well with others. Kids want to cooperate and listen to adults. It's evolutionarily advantageous for them to stay with the group. They can't when they're full of feelings, because something in them is telling them it's not safe. Their limbic system is signaling an alarm, even if we do not think it is relevant. We cut the sandwich the wrong way. It's time to stop playing. They are not able to pay attention or listen when they're full of feelings. So we have to have that as our base. Now, I like to think about this as in terms of the human condition. I, in my own life and way of thinking about the world, have drawn a lot from Buddhism, and this idea that the Buddha talked about of the human condition, this human condition that we suffer. Basically, he said that the human condition is that we suffer. Also, there's a way out of that suffering, but the first place to linger is just the fact that suffering happens. So I like to think of this in terms, in relation to what we're talking about as, broken disconnection and broken thinking happens. It's the human condition. We can't be happy all the time. We're not going to be able to not have kids have big feelings all the time. That is not realistic. So if we start on the left of this flow chart here, we see disconnection. So a child feels disconnection for some reason. It's seen or unseen. We notice the disconnection, or we don't notice it. We just notice the results of it. But something in them feels disconnected to themselves and their environment and not safe, and there is an alarm, a limbic system. That leads to what we can think of as broken thinking. So if you remember the flipped lid with using your fist as the brain, and the fingers go up, and just the thumb, which is the limbic system, is exposed, there's broken thinking. The ability to use the thinking part of the brain is not working. And that is what leads to difficult feelings and behavior. And I like to use the analogy here of if you are late to a meeting and you're going down the stairs to get to your meeting, but the person in front of you is going very slow. Now, if you think they're doing it because they're just selfish or inconsiderate, or not thinking about you, you're probably going to be irritated. You might even brush past them sort of aggressively because of what you're attributing to what they're doing. But if instead they had a broken ankle, and maybe you couldn't see it because it was a little bit hidden, but you knew you knew that they had a broken ankle, your relating to what's happening would be completely different. You might still be late to your meeting, but you probably would not get so frustrated. You might still be a little bit irritated, but you wouldn't be taking it so personally. You might, in fact, accept that you're going to be late and have some acceptance with that. Or you might walk up to them and ask if they need help with their bags, or give them your arm to help them down the stairs. You might help them. You'd have patience in helping. Now, when a child is full of feelings because they're disconnected, that leads to broken thinking. Now, if we go to help them, then they can heal. But if we think that they're just doing it to act out and they're choosing to not cooperate, then a different reaction happens, and they don't go into natural healing. So the difficult behaviors and feelings that kids have in these moments comes from their broken thinking. Now, what happens next when a child has broken thinking is connection. If we add warmth and safety, we keep it safe. I can't let you throw that block. I can't let you hit your sister. I can't let you run out of the park. No, I'm sorry. It is time to go home. The safety and the warmth, connection, the listening, the care, the slowness. What happens next is the healing process. Now, if it's a big disrupt, there will be tears and tantrums. Even if it's the disconnection that's big is not from now, but from the past, something that we are not aware of. We add connection, warmth, and safety, they get more upset. That's the healing process. If it's a small disconnection in them, we add our warmth and safety. Maybe they have a little release, one tear, and then they're able to come back to limbic equilibrium. And then they're able to think well and collaborate and problem solve again. And then disconnection will happen again. This is the human condition. It goes round and round and round. And this is why parents are so stressed out. Well, part of the reason. There's lots of reasons. But part of the reason is because this cycle is happening all the time. So their patience and ability to add that warmth and safety, to be present for the healing process, gets worn because they feel like they've just offered all of this time and connection and empathy, and then their child acts out again, and it's very frustrating. But this is the human condition, and in hand-in-hand parenting, we have a lot of ways that we talk about to help parents to deal with that, to help parents to be able to do this healing process. But we're not going to talk about that today. That's a different tool. We're only talking about one of the 5 hand-in-hand parenting tools today. So what happens when that disconnection and broken thinking do not lead to connection? What if they lead to frustration? So the parent feeling or adult feeling frustrated, punishing them. No, you're bad, go to your room, banishment. Then what happens is it leads to a feeling of isolation. They might feel more fear and more shame. And then that leads to avoidance, hiding or repressing those feelings, which will lead to more disconnection and more broken thinking. Maybe not in that moment, because of the fear or the shame might keep their behavior tamped down, not because they're using their whole brain, but because their limbic system freezes a little bit, and it's not safe to even have these emotions. This is what happens in trauma, right? And when we start to heal the trauma, the big feelings start to come out. So in the moment, the child might look like they're having better behavior, but in fact, it's leading to more disconnection. So we can't save children from all this connection. It's just a part of life. It's part of the human condition. But we do want to try to think of their behavior differently and get the support as caregivers, as therapists, as teachers, as parents, so that we can think well about the children that we work with, to work with our own feelings about how challenging it can be, so that we can add connection, warmth, and safety, and and add to the healing process. So this is where this connection piece, this is where the hand-in-hand parenting listening tools for kids come in. There's stay listening, play listening, and special time in terms of the connection tools for the children, listening partnerships for adults, and setting limits, which is actually sort of both. And today we're going to be talking about stay listening. So as an adult,